Hi everyone, welcome back to yoga. I'm Ashley, and I am so stoked that you could come and join me for this class today because we are doing what is probably easily one of the most strangest looking yoga postures out there, and that is Yoga Dandasana. And so this is going to be naturally a deep hip opening intermediate level yoga class. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and get started. Feel free to close your eyes or gaze at a point out in front of you and just start by connecting with yourself in some way, whether that be with your breath or noticing how you're feeling emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And just take this moment here to give yourself permission to do whatever you need to do throughout your practice to make it more accessible and sustainable for you. Take a full breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, let it out with a sigh, letting everything go but this moment. Gently open your eyes. Let's begin on all fours, hands and knees. Line up your wrists under your shoulders, your knees under your hips. We're just going to start with a few rounds of cat and cow. Lengthen your spine first on your inhale. Lift your chin, curl into your lower, middle, and upper back. And then round your spine, bringing chin toward your chest, tailbone through your legs. Just rolling vertebrae by vertebrae, back and forth with your breath. If at any point you're unable to do something, if it becomes too much or your hips don't like it, knees don't like it, and so on, always feel free to skip. You can come back to it later at another date. It's always okay. Come back to a neutral spine and step your right foot forward outside your right hand. Try to take your right shin so it's straight up and down, and then walk your back knee back a few more inches, as much as feels comfortable and optimal for you. Stay upright, push your hands down and back, and lift your sternum forward and up. And just breathe here. Low lunge. Feel free to stay in this position or come down onto your forearms to deepen the stretch. Again, push through your right big toe mound and squeeze your right knee more into your right outer arm. Do push your right foot and your left knee down and toward each other to keep your legs activated and strong as they stretch. Slowly place your hands back to the floor, lift back up, and step your right knee back. Take your left foot outside your left hand for the second side. Again, left shin straight up and down, walk your right knee back. Hands under your shoulders, lengthen your spine, push hands down and back as you lift sternum forward and up. Even if you don't get to that full pose today, what you get is the benefit of doing these deep hip openers regardless. Feel free to stay here, come down onto your forearms. Squeeze your legs in. Keep your breath long, flowing, unheld. And slowly come back up to your hands. Step your left knee back. Come into a downward facing dog. Lift your knees, press your thighs back. Reach your arms and your legs longer. Maybe take your heels to the floor. Draw your ribs toward your spine. Lift your armpits and arm bones up away from the floor. Take your outer right foot to the floor and take your left foot out in front of your hips like a kickstand. Point your left toes off to the left and turn open toward the ceiling. Lift your left arm, variation of side plank. Try to press your right big toe down toward the floor, trying to plant your whole sole of your foot down. Push your feet down so your hips lift up, and even clamp your left heel toward your hip, and that'll really activate your outer left hip muscles. Lower your hand to the floor, step back, downward dog, stretch it out, one breath. And come to your outer left foot, step your right foot in front of your hips, push through your feet, lift your hips, lift your right arm up, push your left big toe mound, sole of foot down, push down and forward through your bottom arm. Lower your right hand, downward dog, one breath, an inhale and an exhale. Lower your knees to the floor. Take your hands under your shoulders, knees a little wider than your hips. Bring your big toes together for revolved child's pose. Swing your right arm all the way up, and then right arm under your left arm. Bring your shoulder and ear to the floor. Feel free to stay here like this, or walk your left arm forward and to the right. Now, important for this class, push down the back of your right hand into the floor, and then shrug your shoulder back toward the wall behind you. That action is super important for when the foot is back there behind your armpit. That way your shoulder doesn't dislocate or overstretch. Walk your left hand back. Untwist, reaching your right arm all the way open. Then lower your right hand to the floor. Lift your left arm all the way up. Swing left arm under your right arm. Shoulder and ear to the floor. Maybe walk your right hand forward to your left. And again, pull your left hand down and back. Squeezing shoulder blades toward each other. Square your hips. Walk your right hand back. Push down to untwist. Reach your left arm all the way up. And lower your hand to the floor. Great. Step into down dog. And then take your feet together and step your right foot between your hands for Asana, monkey lunge. Lower your left knee to the floor, top of back foot to the floor. Lift your torso, lift your arms, stretch tall. Move your rib cage back, tailbone forward, and extend through your fingertips. Maybe sit a little deeper, add as little or as much back bend as you'd like. Just make sure your hips press forward more as your torso goes back. Lower your hands to the floor. Now listen carefully. We're going to swing the back leg around and lower your bottom. All right, so we're in Marichyasana legs. Take your right arm up and then fold inside your right leg. Grab your inner left foot with your right hand and take your left arm under your right arm to grab your outer right shin and pull it in. Keep shrugging your shoulders back. Feel free to stay here, or you can bind your right arm around your right leg, taking your right arm to the right, point thumb down, bend your elbow, and then slide your hand up to your outer right hip crease. Then take your left arm back, point your palm up, bend your elbow, maybe clasp your fingers. Maybe fold forward, forehead toward your knee. Again, make sure your shoulder moves back against the pressure pushing into it with your leg. Next inhale, lengthen your spine, keep your hands bound if they're bound, and then lift your torso up, take your leg with you and hold. It's just helping with the rotation of the hip and with your strength of your shoulder joints. Go ahead and lower your foot. Let go of your bind. Take your right foot, cross your left thigh, and onto the floor. And then from here, lean onto your left hip, bend your left knee for Ardha Matsyendrasana, and just take your left arm up, twist to the right, exhale, armpit to thigh. Unround your upper spine, really shoulders back, lift up through your sternum, point your palm forward, push your back hand down, and then gaze beyond your right shoulder. Squeeze your heels toward your hips, and don't hold your breath. Look forward, untwist. Take your right foot to the floor where it originally was and take your left leg straight out. Lean forward inside your right leg, lift up onto your right foot, and you're going to swing your left leg back. You'll have to quickly take your left hand over and then come back to Anjaneyasana. Lift your torso, lift your arms. Then lower your hands to the floor, come back to downward dog. All that on the second side. Step your left foot forward, Anjaneyasana. Right knee down, tailbone forward, lift torso, lift arms, stretch up. Sink tailbone forward, sternum up, maybe back bend a little more. Lower your hands, swing your right leg around and sit down. Fold inside your left leg, Marichasana variation. Take right hand under your left arm, grab your shin, pull your knee into your armpit, stay here, or bind, left arm to the left, shoulder back, point palm down and up, bend your elbow, right arm to the right, point palm up, bend your elbow, maybe grab your fingers, move your shoulders back as you round forward. Keep your right leg, toes, kneecap pointing up. And then as you inhale, sit up, take your leg with you. Lower your foot, unbind your arms, then cross your left ankle over to your outer right thigh, lean to your right, bend your left knee. Ardha Matsyendrasana, inhale, right arm up, left arm behind you. Exhale, twist. Armpit to thigh, palm facing forward, unround your upper back. Gaze toward the wall behind you. Untwist. And again, take your left foot in front of your left hip, right leg straight ahead, lean forward, and then skillfully slide your right leg back. Anjaneyasana, lift up one more time. Then exhale, downward dog. Come into a figure four position in your downward dog. So walk your feet a little closer to your hands. Bend your knees a lot. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Bend your knees a lot. So your hands push down and forward, hips move back toward your heel. Reach your heart toward your shin and your shin toward your heart. You can stay here or walk your hands back little by little until your left heel comes to the floor. This can be a familiar position if you're used to doing like Ekapatagalavasana, which we're not doing today, but similar position, similar shape. All right, from here, standing baby cradle. Go ahead and wrap your arms around your foot and your knee, or in any other way that you know that helps you best. From here, lift your torso, take your leg up with you. Try to keep your shin parallel to the floor. Push your right heel into your left arm so your foot moves kind of away from you. Try to stand up as straight as possible. Gently bend your left knee, lean your hips back as you fold forward, ankle to knee. Hands to the floor, walk back out. Regular down dog. Stretch, one full breath, inhale. Exhale. Left ankle over your right knee. Widen your left knee to the left. Use your hip muscles to help you. And then reach heart and shin toward each other. Walk your hands slowly back. Maybe until you can take your heel to the floor. Feel free to stay in whatever position along the way. Totally okay. Hold here a couple breaths. Standing baby cradle, wrap arms around your leg. Gaze at a steady point. Stand up, take your leg with you. Push your left heel away from you into your elbow. Shin parallel to the floor. Try to unround your upper back. Pull your shoulders back. And slowly lean your hips back, torso forward, ankle to knee, hands to the floor, walk out, downward dog, plank pose, chaturanga lower halfway down, inhale, upward facing dog, arms straight, shoulders back, curl back, downward dog. Step your right knee behind your right wrist. Point your right toes towards your left hip, so start with the diagonal shape, and then walk your left knee back. Squeeze your legs in toward each other and from the sides of your mat in toward the midline. Press tailbone forward, ribs back, sit up tall to start, kind of like you did in that lunge at the very beginning. Then keeping that length, feel free to fold forward toward the floor. Do keep your legs active. Lift your torso halfway. Then take your hands flat on the floor, curl your back toes under, listen carefully. Lift your back knee, lift your right knee, pushing your foot down into the floor. Then take your left hand to your right foot and pull it forward so your shin is now parallel to the short edge of your mat. Clamp your right heel toward your hip and use your right hip muscles to start to turn your right knee more out toward the floor. If it reaches the floor, you could stay here with your back knee up, or if your hip and knee allow you to, lower your back knee to the floor, slide it back, a little bit more intense than the other version. Do push through your right big toe mound so your right outer ankle lifts away from the floor. Again, you can stay upright like we started, or forearms to the floor. Your back toes can be like mine, curled under, or top of foot to the floor. All right, you can stay here, or we're gonna come into a twist towards your right foot. That's over to your left. Take your right elbow or your armpit or somewhere along the way to the sole of your right foot. We're getting really close to that shape now of Yoga Dandasana. So pull your shoulder back against your foot and push your foot into your outer armpit. You can stay here like I am here, or join your palms, push your palms into each other to twist a little deeper. Just be really mindful of your spine. Know when to stop, when is enough. Push foot into arm, arm to foot. And then slowly use your hands to help you untwist. And carefully walk your back knee in and step back to downward dog. Stretch it out, full breath in. Exhale completely. Pigeon with the diagonal angle, left knee forward, ankle pointing slightly back and to your right. Slide your right knee back. Stay upright for a couple of breaths. Squeeze your knees toward each other, front and back, side to side, in toward the midline. And maybe fold forward. A few more long breaths here. Lift your torso halfway. Place your hands under your shoulders, straighten your arms, curl your back toes under, lift your back knee, push your left foot down, lift your left knee. Then use your right hand to pull your left foot forward. Again, you can stay here or clamp your heel towards your hip as you widen your left knee to the left. Make sure your knee is okay with that. As you lower your left knee, maybe to the floor, maybe slide your right knee back. Stop anywhere along the way. Upright first, lengthen. And then feel free to fold. Again, you could stay here or twist. Lengthen your spine first. Take your left elbow or somewhere towards your armpit. Maybe get it all the way up to the back of your armpit to your foot. Push your foot and your shoulder into each other. Push down through your left elbow. Maybe join your palms. Keep your hips square to the floor as you turn your torso more upward toward the ceiling. And don't hold your breath. Slow, deep, even breaths. Untwist. Push yourself slowly back up, carefully back to downward dog. Plank pose, chaturanga, upward dog, downward dog. Lower your knees to the floor. Go ahead and have a seat on your bottom. Take your legs straight out in front of you. Then lean back on your hands. Lift up through your sternum. I have my fingers pointing straight out, hands just a little bit behind. And from here, cross your right ankle to your left thigh and bend your left knee and pull it in. Now you can stay here. This can be good enough. This can be the stopping point. Or scoot your hips closer, maybe all the way to touching your left heel. Now you could stay here or walk your hands in. Lift up through your sternum. Try to unround your upper back. All right. Now this is where it gets a little weird. You can stay here or lean into your left hand and take your right arm up. Inhale first. And as you exhale, twist, try to take your armpit to your foot, so your foot is behind your armpit. And then push those 2 points into each other. You might have to wiggle. Now push foot into arm, arm into foot. Stay here, and maybe make a fist with your hand like I have. Don't go anywhere else yet, just to prep. So now you feel there's going to be a lot of work involved in the actual posture once we get to it. Go ahead and untwist. Take your hands back behind you. Take your legs out straight. Tanasana between sides. Lift your hips. Pull your shoulders back. Head back. Lower your hips. All right. Second side. Cross your left ankle to your right knee. Bend your knee. And then slide your hips in. Slide your hands in. Keep lifting your lower back in and up. Straighten your spine a little more. Lift your sternum. All right, you can stay here or lean into your right hand. Lift your left arm up. Inhale. Exhale. Twist. Armpit and foot as close as you can get them. And then do push your foot and your arm into each other. Again, maybe make a fist with your left hand. Lengthen your spine out of your hips. Unround your upper back. All right, untwist. Take your leg forward, both legs forward. Virasana. Come onto your knees. Hero pose. Take your knees together and then slide your feet so they're about as wide as your outer hips. And you can take your hips back in between your feet. Take your hands behind your calves and slide your flesh back. If your hips are not able to come all the way to the floor for whatever reason, place something under your hips so that your hip flexors can relax. Now, you can stay working here, lifting up through your sternum, pulling your shoulders back. You can place your hands on your thighs. You can have your hands in front of your heart. Do whatever feels better for you. Do squeeze your knees toward each other, heels toward your outer hips. Lengthen through the top of your head. All right, place your hands on the floor. You can come out in several different ways. You can just lean forward, come into a downward dog, or push down through your hands, cross your ankles, and extend your legs out in front of you. Whichever version you came out in, come back down to Dandasana. Take your legs out straight, tone your thighs, lift your kneecaps, flare your toes, sit up nice and tall, and breathe here. All right, we're gonna try to put it all together. So do your best. Don't worry if it doesn't happen today. All right, go ahead and take your right foot to your left thigh. Bend your left knee. And then scoot in just like we scooted in all those times before. Now you can stay here or take your right arm up, lengthen, 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 and then twist. Take arm to foot, wiggle in as much as you can. Now, make a fist with this hand. Push your foot and your arm into each other. Move your shoulder back against your foot. Important. Now you can stay here. You can try to unhook your foot from your knee. That's probably the hardest part. Lean onto your right knee. Now you could stay here or flip your left knee to the floor like Virasana leg. Point your toes straight back. You can stay working here, or take your hands and bind them behind your left hip and gaze to your right. Your left. And breathe here. All right, hope it went well for you. We got one more side to try. Take your foot out, and then just take both legs out in front of you, tone your thighs, lift your kneecaps. All right, bend your left knee, cross it over your knee, and then take your other foot in as you slide your hips forward. Lift your lower back in and up, Again, stay here or inhale, left arm up. Exhale, twist, armpit to foot. Wiggle in there as much as you possibly can. Get your foot as high up into your armpit as possible. Now push foot into arm, arm into foot, and then maybe take your foot off your leg with your arm. Again, you can stay here, or you can take your knee to the floor, point your toes straight back, stay here, or bind hands by your left hip and twist. Great, look forward. Unbind, take your foot down, take your legs out to straight. Tone your thighs, lift your kneecaps, take a few breaths. All right, Purvottanasana one more time. Take your hands behind you, push your hands down and apart, lift your sternum, lift your hips, point your toes, shoulders back, head back. Lower your hips, then slide your hips forward. Lie on your back for bridge, Situ Bandasana. Walk your shoulders in toward your spine. Push your head, shoulders, and feet down. Lift up your hips. Feel free to bind your hands underneath you or hold your mat. Walk your shoulders in again. Lift your chin away from your chest. Push your head into the floor. Shoulders in the floor, feet into the floor as you lift your outer hips up and press your inner thighs down. Release your hands. Lower your hips. Do a few windshield wipers, knees side to side, back and forth, rolling over your hips. Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana 2. Pull your knees toward you. Grab outside your feet with your hands. And then start to take your legs towards straight with your thighs and your ribs connected. That might mean your knees stay bent a little. Lift your lower and middle back off the floor. Only come up to your upper spine, not your neck for this pose. Pull your elbows wide, shoulders back. And then maybe take your elbows right into your shin. Breathe here. Maybe some of you can take your toes to the floor without coming onto your neck. And slowly roll back down your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Recline child's pose. Hook your elbows around your knees. Feel free to rock side to side. Feel free to do any other symmetrical postures if you need them. And eventually come down for Shavasana. We'll be here for a couple of minutes. Feel free to turn off your autoplay if you would like more time. And just allow yourself to focus on the space in between your thoughts. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Gently wiggle your fingers and your toes, roll your wrists and your ankles. Reach your arms above your head, stretch long. Invite in a yawn if it happens. And then gently bend your knees, roll to one side. And then using your arms, slowly press yourself back to seated. Thank you so much for coming to play today. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to get more free yoga content and more fun classes, and also classes that have a lot to do with Chinese medicine and meridian theory, please subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little notification bell to get notified when I post new content. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.